So much going on in the world right now. We're seeing Sri Lanka, more and more protests that are getting reported even too. Um, Specifically from the oligarchy, self-proclaimed haves versus the have-nots, self-made haves versus the have-nots. You know, us average people, us low-lifes often. What's going on right now? It's not that good men aren't doing anything. As that old saying goes, it's more like as good men and women, as good people get together, they are thwarted instantly. And the reason they are thwarted instantly is because of, well, it has a lot to do with one, technology, of course, but also it has a lot to do with the amount of time that's gone into everything that's led up to this point. The amount of time with everything that's been handed down from the time of Templars to the first Freemasons. A lot of time that's been handed down on through Rosicrucianism, which comes from all that, and lots of the other secret orders. These people, through their secret signs, symbols, handshakes, languages without opening their mouth, they can recognize each other from far off. So much time, insane amounts of crazy patience has gone into right now, to where they're feeling so confident that they're winning. When it comes to a great reset, that very term like offends me personally. Everyone's offended now these days by something, but the reason that offends me personally, the Great Reset, is because they're thinking they can just buy out and own what is inevitably going to happen, that they would generally be afraid of, because it would be coming for them. It would be coming for them. So it's offensive to me that they just think that they can own and buy that too, and make that happen. To where, in general, someone like me, the regular normal person, and yes, on some scales, somewhere in life, in the actual real world, I would be considered less than average. So I would be kicked down under the second-class citizens, when we call second-class citizens here in America. Anyway, just that level of arrogance that they are about to own the Great Reset, and they're entitled to it, when the whole idea of an actual Great Reset would be coming for them as much as everyone else. So that's why for the longest time scale, we've seen secret orders such as, whether you want to call it the Freemasons or Rosicrucians, the Bavarian Illuminati, even other secret societies that just seem corporate and less mystical, such as Bilderberger or G7 or whatever, NATO, seem more corporate and political. But with the amount of time that has taken up to this point, we've seen an almost sort of wisdom in spite of themselves, where a wisdom to do their best to keep things from changing. But in a bad way, a very nefarious way, because they've done their best to keep things from changing, in the sense that we saw Nikola Tesla, get raided, his invention stolen. I have known of people who had a patent on engines that could run on water, and they were hunted down, they disappeared, and all their work was taken away by those who are obviously giants in oil, petroleum, the car industry. So, suppress science. We've been held back intentionally, and they've kept things from changing, but now what they're realizing is the things that they've kept things from changing are just going to be changing anyway. So now they want to shift the plan to where they're like, well, we're just in charge of that too. But no, you're not. They're not. They want very much to corner a corporate illusion of being in control of the great breakdown. So they just rebranded it and termed it as, that whole the secret of the power of language thing. They're just linguistically reset it. They changed it to the Great Reset when it's really the Great Breakdown that we want to look like we own in their minds. That's what they're doing. So, because generally when it comes to a great breakdown, they would be come for first. And if they can do this just the way George Soros bought out so much of Black Lives Matter and infiltrated it with Antifa, that's why there was actual straight up video of people going, "We want our money, George. Where the F is our money, George?" Over and over again. There's actual footage of that. Because the very same tactic, George Soros wanted to buy that so that he could own it. So in essence, that doesn't spill over to come for him. And that's what we're seeing right now. That's why it's rebranded as and linguistically switched around as the Great Reset instead of the Great Breakdown. Because on the Great Breakdown, that's just nature, and nature does not view social classes. When nature creates a fault line, it will suck up all the ditches people are pissing in Mexico, and it will suck up all the mansions that are over somewhere near Davos. If a massive fault line does not look at that sort of thing, it doesn't care about skin color, it doesn't care what's in your bank account. And there are fault lines opening now. I forgot about that actually. Look at Yellowstone, read about Yellowstone, that just happened. Yellowstone just woke back up. So, anyway, yeah, but the reason they have just gone so long in planning, just taking their time, long in planning. And what we're seeing now, to tie it back into this, is not that great men are doing nothing, but because of the way we've been raised in these last generations, great men and women, great people who get together, not that they're doing nothing, they're just getting thwarted. They're being thwarted as soon as they start to get together. Because unfortunately, with our technological dependence and everything we've come to depend on, we're being told very fast. We've got the telecommunications, the infrared camera, the drones. We can read body temperature. We know where you're trying to hide, etc. We can spot we can spot a fly from a satellite in space. You guys aren't going to get away with anything. So we're being told this, and we're being shown this more and more to where essentially good people are being thwarted because, again, good people just are so used to having things now. The convenience of microwaves, cell phones, widescreen cable TVs, home theaters, as in anything you can name with a fairly low budget, you can entertain yourself lifetimes over and not have to face the facts and not want to sacrifice yourself. That right there is the very thing that they've engendered and engineered over the course of the longest amount of time that's hard for us to fathom, who are used to seeing results now. We want results now. The microwave generations, we want results now. And when we don't get the results now, then we feel we've hit a dead end. It's not worth it. Just go the other way, go with the flow, go back the other way, and just go back to what can be microwaved right now. That's what God called you to. You see what I mean? But when it comes to that, is just they're used to people quitting now. They're used to people quitting. People have become so used to the path of minimal resistance, couch potato style. Just people very much something like a great destruction, rather than, as they rebranded it, a great reset, rather than a great giant breakdown. That would belong to everybody. A great reset belongs to those who bought the resources to do a great reset. Now, a great breakdown belongs to everybody. So yeah, we should be calling it a great breakdown, because that's what is happening now. They're just trying to rebrand it, and it's out of their fear too that they're doing it. It's definitely out of their fear that they're doing it. So it's the last hurrah, last heave-ho towards looking like you still own the whole world as it begins to break apart, fall to crap. and transform beyond their means. So, essentially what I wanted to get to too real quick was that here's why we can't figure out what we seem to not be able to figure out what's ever going on as we get on our YouTube channels and try to wrap our minds around it, try to report the news, all of us, or report how some kind of solutions, how to deal with things, why this or that won't work, but we've been trying to bang our heads up against it, is because for every major global event, think of it as a star that's being eclipsed. We try so hard with our technology in this microwave generation to get the answers now for the great big phenomena event that's going on with the star. In doing so, we leave out the science of being able to determine and detect the smaller satellite that's causing this huge shadow that's causing the star to seem to blacken for a while. And all we're doing is we're getting on YouTube like, this star is starting to blacken, everybody. Did you notice the star is starting to blacken? We're starting to figure things out. We're starting to figure things out. But that is just trying to get everybody into this pool of a cure we can all agree on by constantly just calling out the next big symptom and the next big symptom and the next big symptom. We're awakening. We're able to call out more big symptoms and what's going on with these massive stars in the sky. But none of us are ever calling out or really seeing what's going on with the smaller satellites that are causing these ginormous shadows that are blotting out these bodies of light. And that itself does create a light. Once you can start calling out this smaller satellite body that is causing this huge shadow that would blot out the light. So you see what I mean? And what I want to say is, for every single thing that seems like a major thing that we all need to be talking about together, because it is the news, it is the current global event, and it's the biggest thing right now that's determining the paradigm shift and the global transformation. Yet it's not, because what we really should be talking about, and this is what these secret societies and the secret orders have always known, these brotherhoods, since the beginning of what set those who are in these secret orders apart from who was outside and fumbling and tumbling all around as they left. I'm sorry, brain fart a little bit. But basically, that's the ability to take their time, very slowly working together to be more into the knowledge of the satellite bodies. So for everything we're reporting that seems so huge, and this is what's so obvious that we should all be talking about, there is 6 tiny moons, 6 satellites, you might say, is the average. The average is almost like there's a 6 degrees separation. There is a 6 degrees, 6 tinier satellites that over time have led up to this major celestial event of the big stars being blotted out that we're all just talking about. Like, whoa, where did this come from? We're all awakening now by talking about it. But these secret orders have pulled the strings on these, on average, 6 different tinier satellite bodies that have formed a cat's cradle that led up to what's going on with a massive star. And we are just so hung on this massive star that we are missing out on those, on average, 6 smaller satellite bodies that are determining what's going on with the big star at the crux of all that. So that's what's going on. And for good men to start doing something, good men and women and good people to start forming up to where they're effective, is now it is going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time now. If we had gotten our start way back when these societies were getting their start, we might see a better chance. But one thing is, like I was saying, secret handshakes, secret symbols, speaking entire codexes without ever opening their mouth in a matter of minutes or even less is because of symbols. And like, there's one symbol, and that is a question mark and a Guy Fawkes mask. It might seem silly, but symbols are important not to lose, because symbols for us can be infiltrated by them, but their symbols too can also be infiltrated by those whose symbols tend to be more modern and just came out in order to deal with all this stuff, so that we could communicate with winks and nudges before we ever open our mouth. So we all know the values that we stand by long before the eclipse that everyone is talking about even happens. You see what I mean? We're talking about planting seeds. Each of those smaller moons, satellite bodies that are causing these major eclipses, they at one point were not even moons. They were tiny, tiny, tiny seeds. Sorry, I rock back and forth a bit as I talk. Tiny, tiny, small seeds. And they could only be conveyed so subtle by knowing what was in the heart. And we knew what was in the heart by the language, but it was not a language with the mouth. It was a language with things like Guy Fawkes masks and question marks. And on the other end of things, I don't know. What can we think of on the other side of things? That right there, the scale and the compass with the G in the middle. Some other forms of triangles. What else? Well, you get the gist. The UN logo with the dove, where the olive branches around the global grid. Symbols. Symbols are what will determine you have planted for yourself, that will come around full circle around the time of the eclipse when others are just going crazy over the light being blotted out. You, based on your symbols and your languages and the secret nods, will keep you in the know thousands of years from now, and will have you on top thousands of years from now, and able to gather without saying a word thousands of years from now, to where it doesn't matter what kind of technology they have. Infrared, ultraviolet, able to read this, that, able to spot flies from outer space, able to close down bank accounts with the push of a button. The technology will not be the thing itself, but we are talking symbols of the heart. Symbols of the heart are what run it all. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning was the Word. So, I guess I'm gonna shut that. I'm gonna end that right now. I just wanted to get that out and off my heart. I'm using my phone to do it too, rather than anything fancy. So, all right, everybody, take care.